Mr. Armitage, can you give us the details leading up to and including the sale of the De Kuyper paintings?
Let me see, it was early June. I received a visit from Hiram Davenport, a London solicitor. He informed me that his client had 2 new De Kuyper paintings that he wished to auction.
I assume you checked the authenticity of the paintings?
Yes, as always. Everything was in order. He had in hand a certificate of authenticity signed by Pierre Dernay, the well-known De Kuyper expert.
Did you meet Mr. Davenport's client?
No, I dealt only with Mr. Davenport.
What can you tell us about the auction itself?
Mr. Davenport's client set very strict conditions regarding the sale. The auction had to take place on July the 1st, and the public announcement was not to be made until June 23rd. Just 1 week to prepare. And as if that weren't enough, Mr. Davenport informed me that the paintings were to be sold as a pair. A pair!
Odd. Wouldn't the seller be able to fetch more for them if they were sold individually?
Unquestionably. It was a strange request.
And how did the auction turn out?
Due to the short public notice, many of the big bidders did not show. Mr. Brady Norris, curator of the National Gallery, was the successful bidder, as you know. I must admit that the paintings brought more than I had expected.
Do you have any idea why that was so?
Undoubtedly because of the energetic bidding from Sir Herbert Cofman and Dame Agnes Smedley.
I am, of course, revealing this information to you under the strictest confidence.
Of course.
Sir Simpson Whitcomb. He's one of the wealthiest men in England. His ethics are impeccable.
And what of Lord Smedley?
Much in the same position financially.
What can you tell us about Sir Herbert Cofman?
Now, there's another story altogether. He had a brilliant future, was knighted at 28. Then he got involved in South American ventures, Bolivian railroads. The whole project fell through, and Sir Herbert lost his entire fortune.
And Brady Norris?
I never met him, but I know he opened an account here on the 1st of July with a deposit of £50,000.
Sorry, Ducky. Sir Herbert Cofman ain't been in today, but I can make room available for you if you like.
Sir Herbert, were you not one of the bidders at the Armitage auction?
I was bidding for someone else.
For whom?
Can't tell you that. If they wanted to be known, they wouldn't have hired me, now would they?
What was your relationship with Brady Norris?
We went to Oxford together. What of it?
Was he a student of art there?
Yes, and a rather good one, too. Brady and I once discussed opening our own gallery. For me, it would have been a mere business venture, but for Brady, well, he always wanted to control an enviable collection.
Well, then he has realized his dream. As curator, he certainly must do that now.
Not really. Everything Brady does must be authorized by Sir Simpson.
What brings you to these parts, Dr. Watson?
Information about 2 cabs that picked up fares last night at 47 Upper Gloucester Place. One at 10 o'clock and the other at midnight.
Ah, here we are. At 10, 2 people were picked up and taken to Haxell's, and at midnight, 1 passenger was picked up and taken to Carriage Hotel. Need anything else, Doc?
Tell me, Watson, what did you learn?
The downstairs maid has an easy job of it.
I beg your pardon?
There was barely a stick of furniture in sight.
Very observant, Watson. Now, what of Sir Cofman?
Oh, well, the butler informed me that Sir Herbert was not at home. He suggested we might find him at either the Carlton or at Brill's Baths. Can you tell me about a delivery made to the National Gallery last night?
Sure thing, Governor. Got the delivery order right here. Let's see. It's from some bloke named Brady Norris. Says January 21st, 5:30 p.m. Pick up 3 crates at Wells Warehouse and deliver to the National Gallery.
Well, I suppose it would not be a breach of etiquette to tell you that I arranged the auction of the paintings with Armitage according to the instructions of a Brussels lawyer, Mr. Alan Knorr.
Do you know who retained Mr. Knorr?
Well, I believe it was a Pierre Donnet, although he did seem to want to keep that very quiet.
Interesting.
I half expected it, you know.
Why is that, Ellis?
Because something seemed fishy about the whole De Kuyper affair from the start. My European contacts told me lots of art collectors over there were terribly upset when they heard the two paintings were being auctioned on such short notice. They felt sure there had to be a reason.
And why might that be?
Well, it's all supposition, mind you, but maybe there was a behind-the-scenes agreement to exclude certain people from bidding.
I am greatly distressed by the loss of the paintings, and I must say I regret not having had the opportunity to closely examine them.
Why is that?
For one thing, the circumstances under which they were acquired by the National Gallery might raise some question as to their authenticity, might they not?
We had considered that.
Such short notice for such a major art event is unheard of. But, of course, with no paintings to examine, there is no proof.
Certainly, I know many criminals who are capable of stealing paintings. Most of them are in jail. You could probably obtain information on them at the Office of Records.
Sure, I know Angelo, Hypsilanti, and Clifton Maddox. They come here often.
When did you see them last?
Last night. Arrived about 10:30 and went straight to the bar. About 11, they were joined by a couple of ladies. They were rather loud and went through quite a few bottles of the bubbly.
What time did they leave?
About 2, as I recall.
This one's a real puzzler, if you ask me.
We've noticed.
There was no evidence of forced entry, but if you could figure out that part of the puzzle, you've solved 90% of the case. The who and why will come easily after that.
The chap only lived here 2 months, kept pretty much to himself, according to the desk clerk. He said Cole didn't seem to be employed, spent most of his time drinking at the Red Bull Inn.
Was anything else left in the room that wasn't destroyed in the blaze?
Only a few bits of charred debris. They sent it over to Murray at the Criminology laboratory.
How can I be of service to you, gentlemen?
What can you tell us about the theft of the De Kuypers?
Nothing, I'm afraid. I only arrived from Brussels yesterday afternoon.
Could you tell us who the seller was?
I wish I could. I don't know.
But you signed the certificate of authenticity, did you not?
Yes, in the presence of Mr. Alain Noir, a Brussels lawyer. He was representing an anonymous client who owned the two De Kuypers.
When did you see the paintings?
The next day in his hotel room.
There's no doubt in your mind they were actual De Kuypers?
For 5 hours I went over the paintings and could find no fault. The use of color, the brushstrokes, the type of canvas, the matching signatures. There was nothing out of order. It was De Kuyper.
What did you learn, Watson?
Mr. Hypsilanti is having moussaka for dinner.
No. What did you learn about his whereabouts last night?
Oh, well, seems he came home with some friends and created quite a ruckus, singing and dancing till the wee hours of the morning.
Won't need your meddling on this one, Holmes. We've got it all under control.
How's that, Inspector?
It was an inside job. All evidence indicates that the thief had a key. It appears he exited through an open window in one of the offices. We're checking out all of the guards and the gallery staff.
Have any suspects?
Not at the moment, but we'll get our man, I've no doubt.
Mr. Peters, we understand Lloyd's is the insurer of the De Kuypers.
That is correct. On June 12th, Joseph Armitage took out a short-term policy on the two De Kuypers.
What was the amount of coverage on the policy?
£100,000 for each painting. I then went to Brussels with Armitage to pick up the paintings. There we met Pierre Donnet, who signed the certificate of authenticity.
What transpired after you returned to London?
I delivered the paintings to Armitage's gallery. After the auction, the National Gallery continued with the same policy.
A student of Rubens and a painter in Rubens' studio until his death in 1612. Looks like that ended his career.
Excellent deduction, Watson.
Oh, thank you. Well, none of de Kuyper's work was thought to have survived until recently. In 1872, the painting Lady in a Rose Garden was discovered in a Brussels church attic by art expert Pierre Donnet, who attributed it to de Kuyper. This painting now hangs in the Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam. Since then, 5 other de Kuyper paintings have been found. For a thorough study of de Kuyper's style, see Style and Color of de Kuyper by Jean-Paul Beauclerc, Paris, 1878.
You are mistaken.
Science does not lie.
Excuse me, gentlemen.
Monsieur Murray, I am one of the world's greatest experts on de Kuyper, and I tell you this painting was painted by the hand of de Kuyper.
Mr. Beauclerc, I am not an art expert.
You stated the obvious, monsieur.
But I am an expert on paint pigments and their chemical composition. And I tell you that any painting containing Prussian blue isn't from the 17th century. The process to create Prussian blue had not yet been developed. That paint cannot be more than 30 years old.
You don't know what you are talking about.
Good day, gentlemen.
Is that loafer in trouble again?
No, madam. We simply want to speak with him.
Good luck finding him first. I ain't seen him since yesterday.
Sir Jasper, could I trouble you for a few moments of your time?
Always a pleasure to help, Watson. But I must admit I'm not much of an art buff.
Actually, I wanted to ask you about Matthew Cole, the chap that died in the fire.
Yes, well, he may have died in the fire. But according to my autopsy findings, he definitely did not die because of the fire.
What?
Not a trace of smoke in the chap's lungs. No, I'd say the nasty bump on his head was what caused his demise.
Excuse me, Dr. Murray. May I have a moment of your time?
Ah, Whitson. So nice to see you again.
It's Watson, sir.
Glad to hear it. Now, what can I do for you, Whitson?
Holmes and I are interested in the debris from the fire of Matthew Cole's hotel room.
Aye, such a tragedy. Everything was soaked with kerosene. No doubt this one was arson. Not much left to analyze. I found a key in his pocket. No number on it, though. Ah, but there was one other thing. A piece of canvas oil painting.
An oil painting?
Aye, it was smeared with Prussian blue paint.
Oh, may I have a look at it?
No, sorry. I sent it over to London University for my brother Mortimer to examine. He's a professor of chemistry, you know. An expert on paint pigments.
There were 4 of us on duty when the theft occurred. Our shift starts at 4 p.m., and upon our arrival, we prepare the gallery for its closing at 5. Now, on the day of the robbery, by 5:15, all the employees of the gallery had left for the day, with the exception of Sir Simpson and Mr. Norris.
Was that unusual?
No, sir. It is their custom to remain until the gallery is secured. I personally let Sir Simpson out through the main entrance at 5:30. Mr. Norris stayed on because he was expecting a delivery.
What time did the delivery arrive?
I'd say it was 5:45 when our Cummins Goins wagon arrived. Charlie and I helped Mr. Norris and the deliveryman unload 1 large crate and 2 smaller ones.
Do you know where these deliveries were from?
Well, I'm not sure about the larger one, but the 2 smaller ones were from Jardines.
What happened after the crates were unloaded?
The deliveryman left. Charlie locked and barred the loading dock door. Mr. Norris went into the storeroom to check his shipment, and I returned to the guardroom.
Did you see him open any of the crates?
No, sir, I didn't.
What happened next?
At 6:30, Mr. Norris informed me that he'd locked the storeroom and would be leaving for the evening.
And you let him out?
Yes, sir, through the main entrance. Then I made my rounds through the office wing, checking all the doors to make sure they were secured.
And how did you spend the rest of the evening?
Looking after my rounds. I took the 11 clocker through the east wing. At about 11:10, all the paintings were in their proper place in Gallery 12. Then Charlie made his rounds, following the same path that I'd just made, except when he arrived at Gallery 12, the 2 de Kuyper paintings had been cut from their frames.
What time was that?
I answered his alarm at 11:35 and sent him to check the loading entry in the office wing.
Have you any idea how the thief got into the museum?
No, sir. The only keys to the outside doors are kept in the guardroom or in the custody of the patrolling guards. Sir Simpson and Mr. Norris are the only staff members who have keys, and even they only have keys to the inside doors. Well, that's all I know. I hope I've been of some help, sir.
Sir Simpson said you might be coming by, though I don't know how I can be of much help. I was at Dame Agnes's dinner party when the robbery took place.
Right now we're just trying to piece together what happened to Mr. Norris. Do you have any idea who might be responsible for the theft of the paintings?
No idea at all.
Or have you any idea how the thieves got into the museum?
None in the least.
Were the de Kuypers the most valuable paintings in the museum?
No, of course not. We have Rembrandt's, Da Vinci's.
Then why do you think the de Kuypers were the only paintings stolen?
Oh, I haven't the foggiest idea, Mr. Holmes. I'm a museum curator, not a detective. I believe that is your calling.
Here's the information you requested. Hope it can help.
Clifton Maddox, art gallery owner, arrested in 1889 on suspicion of involvement in the theft of a Turner painting from the London home of Sir Charles Chandos. Tried and acquitted.
Ooh, my poor head. I believe I overdid it at Dame Agnes' bash last night.
Did you hear anything there that might be of interest to us?
I heard many things, Holmes, mostly from the chattering mouth of Pierre Donnet, world-renowned expert on de Kuyper. He has managed to do shockingly well for himself, considering 20 years ago he was a starving artist. But then his ship came in.
Whatever do you mean?
In 1872, he discovered the first de Kuyper in a church attic in Brussels. Soon after it sailed to Rijksmuseum in Amsterdam, he began a whole new and extravagant life. I suppose that's why he can afford to keep a luxurious suite at the Langham Hotel.
Did his discovery of the de Kuyper catapult his own work into the spotlight?
Hardly. Ooh. In fact, Donnet has never sold a painting done by his own hand.
Shinwell, we're working on the National Gallery theft. Can you help us?
Oh, geez, mate. Picture pinching's a bit out of my league. Don't know a thing about it.
Have you seen or heard of any interesting meetings lately?
Well, I hear that Greek bloke's pretty steamed up about having missed the gavel at some auction or other. I heard he's been having a word or two with Clifton Maddox, who almost became a roommate of mine at Pentonville. Only a rumor, though.
Did the rumor happen to say anything else?
Only that Greek fella will do anything for a picture he wants. Hey, you have a beer?
Do you know a fellow by the name of Matthew Cole?
The poor bloke what died in a fire? Sure, he was a regular around here these past 2 months.
Do you remember when you saw him last?
He was in here just the other day. Drank quite a few with a heavy-set gentleman who walked with a limp and used a cane. The cane had a duck carved on its handle. How's that for remembering important details?
The shipment of Nubian art consigned to the National Gallery was delivered to Wells' warehouse at 38 Blackfriars Bridge Road on the instructions of Mr. Brady Norris 5 days ago.
Dame Agnes, we're investigating the de Kuyper theft.
Oh, I was so distraught when I heard. Word was brought right in during the middle of my party, you know, around 11.
Dame Agnes, could you tell us about your guests from last night?
Surely you don't suspect any of them?
We are merely gathering information.
Well, my special guest of honor was Monsieur Pierre Donnet. He was the one who discovered the first known de Kuyper painting. Lady in Rose Garden.
May I ask who else was there?
Let me think. Mr. Pike, Mr. Hypsilanti, Mr. Maddox, my brother Lord Smedley, of course, and Sir Simpson. And then there was Mr. Norris, usually such an outgoing young man. But he did not contribute to the evening's conversation as I had hoped. Oh, I don't know. I suppose he was just taken aback by Monsieur Donnet's presence.
Did anyone leave early, say before 11?
Well, yes, now that you mention it. Mr. Hypsilanti and Mr. Maddox called a cab from the carriage stables and departed around 10 o'clock. The rest stayed until about midnight.
What can you tell us about your De Kuyper, Lord Smedley?
Well, I've had it for several years. Considered myself quite lucky at the time when Monsieur Dunay put me in touch with a Dutchman who wanted to sell it.
Do you recall that gentleman's name?
I don't believe I ever knew it.
May we ask where your De Kuyper is now, Lord Smedley?
Oh, I've deposited it in the vault at Cox Company until this matter is cleared up.
This one is most intriguing, Watson.
What have you unearthed this time, Holmes?
This warehouse was rented by Matthew Cole. Until yesterday, that is.